The first time Commander Rha'ka stepped onto Earth's soil, she wrinkled her nose as if the air itself was unworthy of her. "This atmosphere is thin," she said in her rough, raspy voice. "Your gravity is weak. Your metals are brittle. And your soldiers?" Her bright amber eyes scanned the human barracks with open disgust. "Your soldiers are soft like hatchling worms." Captain Han Yu, standing tall in his pressed uniform, tightened his jaw but said nothing. He had been chosen to act as her liaison during her stay on Earth. Something about cross-species cooperation, though it felt more like babysitting a 7-foot alien who clearly had no respect for humans. "Commander Rha'ka," Han Yu said evenly, "you will be training with our best units. I suggest you keep an open mind about our methods." Rha'ka let out a sharp, clicking laugh that made several soldiers glance over nervously. "Your methods? The galaxy calls humans the weakest of all the allied species. That is not my opinion. That is fact." She stepped forward, her heavy, armored boots striking the floor with weight that seemed to shake the air. Soldiers moved aside instinctively as she passed. Her armor was a living material, dark purple plates that glimmered like obsidian scales. A plasma spear was strapped across her back, humming faintly with power. "You cling to weapons like children cling to toys." Rha'ka continued, reaching for a human rifle from a nearby rack. She held the M4 rifle with 2 clawed fingers, turning it over as though it was trash. "What is this? Wood? Iron? Bullets? No plasma? No acid rounds? So inefficient." "It's a gun," Han Yu said, his voice clipped. "You shoot it. It kills enemies. Straightforward." Rha'ka smirked, revealing a row of sharp teeth. "Your species is built around compromise. This explains much." Han Yu's soldiers shifted uncomfortably behind him. He saw their faces' anger, frustration, humiliation, but he raised a hand, silencing them. He would not let this alien warlord provoke his team. Training days, the next day, training began, and Rha'ka quickly made herself hated. She moved like a predator on the sparring mats, tossing human soldiers aside with terrifying ease. Even 2 or 3 at a time were no match for her. One soldier, a strong corporal named G1, charged at her with a training spear. She caught it in one hand, snapped it in half, and hurled him into the wall so hard that the air left his lungs. Too slow. Rha'ka barked. Too predictable. If you fought the Skarn this way, you would last less than a minute. "Sergeant." Dahai, a sharp-eyed woman who never held back her words, stepped forward. "We are not Skarn, and we don't fight like lone beasts. We fight as a unit. That's why we survive." Rha'ka turned toward her, towering over her small frame. "A true warrior needs no unit. She thrives alone." "Maybe on your planet," Dahai snapped back, "but here we don't abandon our team. We cover each other. We don't run off. Just for glory." Rha'ka's mandibles flexed slightly at the word glory, but she didn't respond. Instead, she turned her back, dismissing Dahai as if she wasn't worth the energy.open contempt every day. Rha'ka's contempt for humans seemed to grow. During weapon drills, she openly mocked the recoil of human rifles. "Children on my world wield heavier weapons," she sneered. She broke 3 punching bags in a row during hand-to-hand training. She insulted human vehicles, saying their armor was paper-thin and their engines pitiful. She trained alone, refusing to join in group exercises. When asked to practice squad formations, she would scoff and storm off by the end of the first week. Almost everyone at the base despised her, but Han Yu could not help but notice something. Behind her arrogance was undeniable strength. She could lift an armored truck without breaking a sweat. She could run a mile in full combat armor in under 6 minutes. Her reflexes were lightning fast, her aim unerring. What she lacked was discipline. teamwork, purpose, and Hanju knew that those things couldn't be taught by lectures alone. Operation Iron Rain 2 weeks later, Rha'ka was deployed with Hangu's squad on a joint mission. Operation Iron Rain. The enemy was the Skarn, a hive-minded alien race feared even by Rha'ka's kind. The mission was to strike a forward base deep in the frozen Siberian wastelands. The Skarn were building something dangerous there, though intelligence couldn't confirm what. As the dropships approached the battlefield, Hanju gathered his squad in the bay. The roar of the engines drowned out most noise, but his voice cut through sharply. Stick together. Cover each other. Do not let the Skarn isolate you. That's how they win. Rha'ka snorted from the corner, leaning casually on her spear. You coddle them too much. A warrior thrives alone. Hanju ignored her. The dropships touched down on the icy ground, and chaos erupted immediately. The Skarn attacked in silence, their black, stone-like bodies emerging from the snow like living shadows. Plasma streaked the sky, explosions, shaking the earth before boots even hit the ground. Communications were jammed within minutes. Squads were cut off from each other. Fire teams scattered across the frozen wasteland. Rha'ka tore through the battlefield like a goddess of destruction. Her plasma spear sliced through Skarn carapace, severing limbs with brutal precision. Her war cry echoed like thunder as she single-handedly annihilated entire waves of enemies. She didn't need backup. She was the backup, but in her overconfidence, she pushed too far ahead. The Skarn adapted quickly. They began to mimic her fighting style, countering her every move. One Skarn warrior lunged from the shadows and bit deep into her shoulder. Another shattered her sidearm with a hammer-like claw. Rha'ka staggered. She was still standing, but only barely. Blood, dark and steaming, seeped through the cracks in her armor. She found herself pinned against an overturned PC, plasma shots hissing around her. She realized, with a sudden coldness, that she was alone. The rescue Hanju spotted her from a ridge while directing his squad's retreat. Rha'ka's massive frame was visible, even from a distance, pinned down and bleeding out. Alpha 3, converge on my position. Hanju yelled. We're pulling her out. 3 surviving soldiers followed. The High, G1, and Sumin, medic. They fought their way down the icy slope, rifles blazing. Hanju dropped beside Rha'ka, returning fire with deadly precision. We've got you, he shouted. Rha'ka blinked at him, stunned. Why? Why risk your lives? She rasped. Because that's what soldiers do, Hanju said firmly, pulling her to her feet. The High covered them with sniper fire as G1 hurled grenades at the advancing Skarn. Sumin wrapped a tourniquet around Rha'ka's wounded arm. As they dragged her back toward the extraction point, they barely made it out alive. Aftermath back at the base. Rha'ka lay in the med bay as human doctors treated her wounds. She stared at the ceiling, silent, her arrogance dimmed. Hanju approached her bed. He expected another insult, another mocking remark. Instead, she looked at him with something like confusion. Your team, she said quietly. They risked their lives for me. Even though That's what soldiers do, Hanju repeated, his voice calm. We cover each other. We fight. For each other. Not for glory. For each other. Rha'ka lowered her gaze. My kind, we do not do that. Hanju gave a faint, almost tired smile. Maybe that's why your kind keeps losing wars. It was a cheap shot, and he expected her to lash out. But Rha'ka didn single quotes T. Instead, she whispered, teach me. And for the first time since arriving on Earth, she looked less like an untouchable warlord, and more like someone who wanted to understand. The weeks after Operation Iron Rain were quiet for Commander Rha'ka. She was recovering from her wounds, But it wasn't her shattered shoulder or cracked armor that felt the heaviest. It was the image burned into her mind, Han Yu and his. Teen fighting through scarred fire to save her, even though she had mocked them, humiliated them, called them weak. Rha'ka was not used to such things. On her world, the strongest lived, the weak died. No one risked their life for another. That was the way of her people. But these human soft, fragile humans had risked everything for her. Without hesitation, she stared at the dog tags Han Yu had left on her bedside table. Each one belonged to a soldier who had not come back from the mission. When she was finally able to stand, she found Han Yu outside the barracks. He was cleaning his rifle as the sun set behind him. "I am ready to train again," Rha'ka said. Han Yu glanced at her. "We can start when you are strong enough." "I am strong enough," she said, "but I do not want to train the same way. I want you to teach me how to fight your way." Han Yu's expression softened, just a little. He nodded. Training the human way training was different now. Rha'ka no longer stood apart from the squad. She joined formation drills, moving shoulder to shoulder with soldiers she once called weak. Han Yu taught her to watch her squad mates' movements, not just her own. To call out enemy positions, to use cover, to fall back if needed. It was not about strength or glory, it was about the team. At first, it felt unnatural. Rha'ka's instincts told her to charge forward, to crush enemies alone. But slowly, she began to see the power in their method. During one exercise, Private G1 stumbled during a simulated ambush. Rha'ka immediately dropped back, covering him with her plasma spear as he regained his footing. "Nice cover," Dai called out from a sniper position. Rha'ka blinked. It was the first time anyone had praised her since arriving on Earth. She nodded silently. By the end of the month, Rha'ka moved like a true member of the squad. She used human weapons now, rifles, grenades, shotguns, though she still carried her plasma spear. "Your kind is strange," she said one evening as the team sat around a small fire after training. "You risk your lives for each other. You do not leave anyone behind. It makes you strong, even though you are soft." Han Yu smiled faintly. "It's how we survive. It's how we win." Rha'ka's amber eyes glowed in the firelight. "I think I understand now." Operation Black Horizon 2 weeks later, the galaxy faced its deadliest threat yet. A Skarn flagship had crash-landed near the equator, releasing spores and biotoxins across an entire continent. The wreck was massive, the size of a city, and its neural core was still active. If the Skarn reconnected to it, they could rebuild the hive mind and launch a full invasion. The mission was simple: infiltrate the wreckage and destroy the neural core before the Skarn could regroup. But there was one problem: the detonators were unreliable. Whoever stayed behind to trigger the core's destruction would not survive. Han Yu read the mission briefing with a grim expression. "High probability of failure. Expected casualties, 95%, he told the squad. "I'll volunteer," Rha'ka said immediately. "No," Han Yu said firmly. "We all go in. We all come out." Rha'ka tilted her head. "You do not believe that. This mission is a death sentence for someone." Han Yu didn't respond. He didn't need to. Everyone on the team knew the truth. The wreckage, the day of the mission, the squad approached the crash site in silence. The air was thick with poison, and the ground was black with Skarn spore growths. The wreckage loomed like a twisted metal mountain, glowing faintly from deep within. Inside, the corridors were dark and alive. Strange, organic metal pulsed like veins in a living creature. The smell of rotting Skarn bodies filled the air. The first tunnel claimed a life. A soldier named Minseok was crushed by a collapsing bulkhead. They couldn't even retrieve his body. Moments later, Su Min, the medic, was dissolved by airborne spores before anyone could react. Her scream was cut short as her armor melted. Away, Rha'ka pressed forward, her jaw clenched. She wanted to roar in rage, but she remembered Han Yu's words. Stay calm. Stay together, By the time they reached the core chamber, only Han Yu and Rha'ka remained. The final choice, the neural core glowed like a living brain, pulsing with Skarn energy. Han Yu set the charges quickly. Charge is ready, he said, breathing hard. Rha'ka checked the detonator. Her amber eyes darkened. The remote trigger is fried. Manual activation only. Han Yu's stomach dropped. Then we'll both. No, Rha'ka interrupted. She stepped forward, spear in hand. I will stay behind. Han Yu turned on her. What? No, we'll find another way. There is no other way, Rha'ka said calmly. You must live. Your kind needs leaders. You can lead them. I cannot. You're stronger than me, Han Yu argued. You might survive the blast. Rha'ka shook her head. Your strength is different. You fight for each other. You made me understand that. My life means nothing if my brothers and sisters die. Han Yu's hands trembled as he handed her the detonator. Go, Rha'ka said softly. Han Yu hesitated. He wanted to argue, to drag her out by force. But he saw in her eyes that it was useless. He turned and ran. The explosion, as Han Yu sprinted through the twisting corridors. Plasma fire roared behind him. The Skarn were swarming toward the core, but he didn't look back. At the chamber, Rha'ka stood tall, battered and bleeding, her spear glowing brightly. She whispered to herself, humans are soft, but unbreakable. She pressed the trigger. The explosion lit up the sky like a second sun. The Skarn hive mind shrieked across the galaxy as it was destroyed, a cry of rage and pain that echoed for seconds before going silent. From orbit, the blast was visible as a pillar of white light piercing. The clouds. Aftermath weeks passed. Salvage teams combed the wreckage for survivors. Most believed Rha'ka was gone, a hero who had died saving billions. But one day, a rescue crew found her deep beneath collapsed hull plating. She was unconscious, her body shattered, but alive. She had clutched something in her hand the entire time. 5 human dog tags. When she woke in the med bay, Han Yu was there. You should be dead, he said quietly. Rha'ka opened her amber eyes. I almost was, she whispered. But I promised myself I would return to honor them. She looked at the dog tags. The ones who did not make it. Han Yu nodded. They would be proud. A new warrior months later, Earth held a massive ceremony in honor of the soldiers who had saved the planet. Han Yu stood on the stage in full dress uniform. Beside him stood Rha'ka, also in uniform, though her armor gleamed with metals, both human and alien. Some people still doubted humanity. Some still called them weak. But Han Yu spoke clearly. Some said humans were too fragile to survive in the galaxy. Some said we would never earn respect from the older empires. But one warrior fought beside us when the galaxy burned. She called us brothers, and we call her one of us. The crowd erupted in cheers. Rha'ka saluted, her expression calm and proud. As they walked off the stage together, she leaned toward Han Yu. You humans are still soft, she said with a small smirk. Han Yu grinned. Soft but unbreakable. For the first time since arriving on Earth, Rha'ka said it not with contempt, but with respect.